Hello there, YouTube. This is Louis, and I don't really have a lot of time at my disposal to record an advertisement at the beginning of this commentary. However, it's in my interest to inform you of the affiliate links that you can find below in the description of this video. Be sure to visit PlayAsia, J-List, and Jast USA, and buy yourself something nice. Your purchases help me, help this channel, and help America. If you're some sort of communist, why don't you fucking kill yourself? Otherwise, be sure to visit the links in the description. So this is Louis, and it is currently the early afternoon, and I got up about an hour ago. But I decided to sit down and watch this clip of Real Time with Bill Maher from last night on the 10th. And I have to say that there was a point in time a while back where I stopped watching Bill Maher's show, despite the fact that I was a big fan of Bill Maher. I decided to stop watching his show because he had turned into a Democratic hack. And what I mean by that is when you suddenly decide to just stop telling the whole truth and to stop actually criticizing your own side. And that seems to be the position that Bill's now in. And I think that at some point he decided that that was what was best for him. I think this was a conscious decision on his part because it was sudden. It was ever so sudden that he started just going into talking points. Coincidentally enough, he actually had an interview for the first time with Barack Obama not long after he became a full-blown fucking hack. And I think that is what has cemented his position in being a Democratic hack, is his own self-interest. So Bill Maher is one of many, many people out there who have no principles, have no scruples, have nothing that they actually cling by for the moment other than what is convenient in that moment for them until it isn't, and then they will abandon that position or pretend as though they never held it to begin with. So now that I've front-loaded this, we will watch a good chunk of Bill Maher's show because it has become the anti-Trump show. And so I'm not really aware of who these guests are on his show. I know that he had this guy, John Waters, Katrine, Jean, Pierre, hopefully I'll show their pictures so you know what I'm talking about, and Jim Jeffries, who I believe is a comedian. He also had Al Franken on there, and I'm not going to watch that part because I don't really give a shit what Al Franken says. But the whole panel is in agreement other than Piers Morgan. He used to have a show on CNN, and I'm not really sure whether to call him a pundit or a commentator, but Piers Morgan is on this panel, and outside of his just general defense of Trump because he's not willing to engage in hack tactics, you have everyone else just piling on him. Bill Maher at a few points just launches into just pure autistic screeching. Just, he is outside of fucking reality at certain points. And I'll stop and I'll talk to you about those points in time. And to my knowledge, and I haven't seen it just yet, but Jim Jeffries also supposedly just unloads on Piers Morgan later in the show, just ranting and raving and insulting Piers Morgan about the fact that, you know, he is defensive of Trump in any way, and he's not willing to lie to attack Trump. This is honestly just a classic example of where we are in history at this moment in time, where we do live in a post-truth era, and that is not because of Trump. Well, it is because of Trump, but it is not just Trump that is lying, and he does lie quite often about petty things, but when people cover those lies, they also can't help but lie. And so, you know, you're left in the position of like, you know, I want to agree with Bill Maher. We do agree on certain things. But, for example, I don't want a hot war with Russia. I don't want to go to war with a nuclear power when it is unprovoked. You know, I used to think that the Iraq war was a mistake. But all of a sudden, we want to pull another Iraq in Russia for no other reason than talking points. You know, it's ridiculous and extreme. And I'm glad that Hillary Clinton lost. I think that out of the two candidates, in the end, Hillary Clinton was the greater of two evils and Trump was the lesser of two evils. Because it has pulled the mask off of so many people. in that you have this fucking John Waters guy from his fucking cushy chair in this fucking air-conditioned studio calling for violence on the streets. And my answer is, I hope the police get out there and crack down and hospitalize those violent assholes that are attacking random people. If this was the right wing doing it, I would want the same reaction. I would want the police out there cracking skulls and hauling people off to jail when they are violent fucking criminals and anarchists, people that want to overthrow the government. But no, John Waters, and we'll get to that moment in time, and people cheer, okay? People cheer for this to happen. They want college students and others, anarchists, out on the streets attacking people, being violent. And in my opinion, there should be people watching and monitoring people like John Waters for incitement. Because when you're calling on people to go out and enact violence, you are inciting violence. You are using your position in the media to call for violence on the streets against Trump supporters. And I think you should be charged with incitement because you are going to lead to fucking the complete degradation of our country. We don't want to be fucking Brazil. We don't want to have paramilitary squads on the streets attacking criminals. We don't want to live in a fucking anarchist state. Whether it is Bill Maher or John Waters or anybody else that's calling for violence in the streets, you know, you are irresponsible and you are not patriotic. You don't give a shit about this country. Your only concern is your own self-interest, not your own politics, your own self-interest. You have no principles. You have no scruples. This is just about you and your bottom line. You are fucking pathetic. I'm sorry for ranting. Let's watch the video.
So, as I said, it was a pretty good day for those of us who think we're in the resistance. You know, they said that old cliche, the Constitution was created by geniuses so that idiots could run it. And we're giving that a good test, aren't we? The judicial branch really did check the executive branch, and that's what we want to happen. The lesson, I think, here is that it is personal. People think they're so high-minded. He insulted judges. When he said that thing about the so-called judge, and if something happens, blame him, I think every judge in the country was like, you know what? There are other people than you, Donald Trump, who have an ego. He's insulted so many people.
How many people voted for Hillary Clinton based on the fucking propaganda of Donald Trump, you know, based on what they were saying about him and the idea of her being the lesser of two evils? You know, how many people actually turned out to see a Hillary Clinton victory? I really don't think that many, because I knew enough people in my own life that voted for Hillary Clinton that actively didn't like her, that don't like her policies, don't like her politics, but were afraid of Trump. And there were reasons to be afraid of Trump. But Hillary Clinton would have been, you know, we would have still been talking about Russia. We would have been building up the army to go to war with Russia if Hillary Clinton was fucking president. Because she was completely deranged by the end about Russia. Completely fucking deranged. And you see all these people that are still, even to this day, talking about Russia and engaging in antagonism with Russia, that we would have probably gone to war with them. Over nothing. Over absolutely fucking nothing. We would have probably gone to war with them. This appeal to popularity is part of it. This is all part and parcel of a constant narrative of Clinton was the actual victor. She should have won. She would have been a better president. And we need to go to war with Russia for whatever. You know, they have weapons of mass destruction. They do, actually.
He's insulted so many people. He's insulted the CIA and heads of corporations and senators and now the judiciary. I just don't think you can insult people like this for that long and ever have any sort of success doing anything.
I gotta tell you that I have to agree with Bill here. I'm really concerned about the feelings of an incompetent agency that has not done a single thing right since its inception. And also the feelings of the worst scumbags on the face of the earth, the head of the multinational defense contractors that have profited off of our ridiculous wars.
But what about what we've just heard, though? We've just heard a senator say he's mentally ill, right? He's an idiot. I mean, this is a two-way street, isn't it? No, I wouldn't have personally voted for Donald Trump. He's not my politics, and I'm not even American, so I couldn't vote for him if I wanted to. But, you know, I didn't think anything could match the hysteria that I've seen in Britain since we left Europe, and I voted to stay in. But this hysteria about these racist, sexist Neanderthals who've seized control of our country. And now I come to Los Angeles, where if you don't say that Trump's the new Hitler, you get tarred, feathered, and dragged to Santa Monica Pier, and you get drowned and beaten within an inch of your life. And I just think it's time everybody took a massive, gigantic chill pill.
But he is mentally ill.
He's not mentally ill. He's the president of the United States. He won a free democratic election.
You don't think kings can be mentally ill?
Well, King George III had a few problems, and if he hadn't...
I'll tell you someone who I know is definitely sane is Hillary Clinton, who wanted a hot war with Russia for no other reason than her self-interest and political expedience. That is a clear sign of someone being 100% sane. You know, that's what makes for a good president. When you are engaging in direct antagonism and having the media engage in direct antagonism against a nuclear power of which that you are constantly signaling that you want to go to war with for no reason, over nothing. There's no fucking reason. And yet you want to go to war anyways. And all these people supporting you, despite, 4 years or 8 years prior, raving about the Iraq war every single day. And all of a sudden it's, no, let's have a hot war with Russia, a nuclear power. Let's just go. I'm the sane person here. It's fucking sanity that have left all these other people. If you are a Hillary Clinton fucking drone, you're the insane one, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump might have some personality fucking issues and character flaws, for sure, based on his attitude and his personality. Saying that he's insane, or whatever L. Franken apparently said about him, the same can be absolutely said for Hillary Clinton. Because, she was campaigning at one point to such a degree that she got sick. And rather than take some time off and get some bed rest and then come back, she continued to campaign until she finally, you had that thing where she was walking up to the van and fucking collapsed. And that was due to her continuously campaigning. Based on all the things that I've seen about what happened, it was she got sick, she should have taken some time off, but she doesn't have it in her to not continue to campaign, because this has been what she's been building to for 20 fucking years. This is her single fucking interest. And, thankfully she failed. Fuck her. And so, yeah, she is a craven, unprincipled politician to the nth degree, where she was willing to go to war with a foreign nation for no reason other than her own self-interest. Whatever criticism you want to make about Trump, it's also, if not more likely true for Hillary Clinton. So just remember which side you're on. Remember who you're actually defending while you're attacking Trump. All right? I didn't vote for either fucking one of them. And, it's very clear to anyone that is in any way rational what is occurring here and who the irrational ones are. You lost, and you need to get the fuck over it. You need to move on and create a new platform, a new vision for the Democratic Party. If you're going to at least be hacks for them, be fucking, be within reality. Do not be delusional hacks.
Well, King George III had a few problems, and if he hadn't, we might still be ruling America.
He takes it personally. He takes it personally and, says terrorists about everything. And to me, I can understand in some way, like I sometimes wonder, moderate Muslims, aren't they against all gay people? But still, I don't say they can't come in. It's like Catholics have been terrorizing me for decades. And, and I don't say no Italians.
But that's an interesting point of view I have not heard before, And I think, you're on the page with a lot of Republicans, because I think what they can do is separate the crazy. You may call it, not mentally ill, but it is crazy. Mm-hmm. There is crazy out there. Yeah. And they think, well, we can put that in a box over here and just use him for policy. But I don't think that works, because eventually the crazy is going to sabotage the policy, even if the policy was good.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Pierce's point, I think the thing to understand is that if you are not white, male, straight, you fear a Donald Trump's presidency, because there is...
You're fucking a white male!
You fear a Donald Trump's presidency, because there is no place for you in a Donald Trump's presidency. And I think that's the thing that you're missing. And if you look at the 18 months of what Donald Trump did and what he said, he ran the most anti-immigration campaign that we have ever seen. He talked about Mexicans, calling them rapists and criminals. He talked about Muslim bans. And
So I will say that Trump was very racially insensitive towards Mexicans. I don't agree with what he said in that speech. But, you know, I can't help but defend what he's trying to do with immigration now, where you have him simply trying to enforce the law. And you can actually make the case for this being too insensitive, or this being too over the top, despite the fact that Barack Obama had record deportations. You know, besides that fucking glaring fact, you can make the case for not being overly harsh with illegal immigrants, not cracking down on them so strongly. However, with the other side of this, you know, being virtue signaling for bringing in terrorists, which is what they're doing. You know, I had my own mayor, and I had Mayor Byron Brown from Buffalo, virtue signaling all over social media about bringing in refugees to Buffalo. And I told you this would happen. I said before the end of the election that if we had Muslims coming into this country, they'd be going to my city, they'd be going to Buffalo. We'd have this wave of fucking Muslims coming into our cities. Why? Because they're poor and they're run by Democrats that want to become senators, that want to become governors, that want to rise to a certain position. And they don't give a shit what happens within their own community. They don't care if you import all of Europe's problems into our cities because we're poor. They don't care. Well, I'll tell you what. No. My answer is no. If my choice is between Donald Trump and his travel ban and you virtue signaling us to becoming fucking Paris or fucking Sweden or Germany, I'm going with Donald Trump because I care about my community. I don't want to see my community turn into fucking Somalia because of your fucking virtue signaling bullshit. Put them in Orchard Park. Put them in the rich part of Buffalo. Put them somewhere where that's surrounded by fucking rich people. Put them there. But you're not going to put them in Orchard Park. You're not going to put them in Williamsville. You're not going to put them in the rich parts of this end of the state. You're going to put them in the heart of Buffalo, in the poorest section of Buffalo, and you're going to put them in my city, which is overwhelmingly poor. And no, I'm not having it. This is an issue where I have to side with Trump in my own interest and in the interest of my community, because I know you are just waiting for the moment in time that you can bring in droves of Muslims into the numbers of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. We all know you want to do it. That's what Hillary Clinton said she wanted to do. So you want to do it by default to virtue signal both to your supporters and to the party. You want to bring in so many fucking Muslims that it overwhelms us. And that we become Paris, we become Germany, we become all these different nations that have all these fucking problems and are engulfed in fucking domestic terrorism. My answer's no to you. And you can fuck right off with your virtue signaling. Donald Trump got on stage and said a bunch of dumb shit about actually enforcing the law and doing something reasonably intelligent in relation to the refugee issue or the migrant issue, whatever you want to call it. I say 0 migrants. 0 refugees. None. We're obligated to take none, and that's how many we should take. 0. If Europe wants to import all of them, if Canada wants to import all of them, that's on them. Good luck, assholes. If they want to foot the fucking bill and deal with the consequences, that's on them. But it shouldn't be on the poor people in Western New York. So, people like her, Democratic hacks, go fucking kill yourselves. Because that's what you're asking of us. You're asking us to willingly kill ourselves by bringing in these fucking people. Because for however many you bring in, you're gonna have some terrorists. You have ISIS saying, we're embedding terrorists within these refugees. And we've seen the consequences in Europe of that being true. So we should accept exactly 0.
And it is fearful for
but
all
he
of
was also the first Republican president to stand there on Inauguration Day and actually talk about the lesbian and gay community of America. Now, I'm not expecting...
Yeah, read the Republican platform on it.
You should read the Republican platform. It was the most divisive inauguration speech I've ever heard.
Yeah, but here's my point. He did say it, and he got absolutely zero even acknowledgement for saying it. So I say, look, if you want to terrorize him and demonize him, fine. But it has to be fair to be effective. And all this squealing and howling is self-defeating.
He's the president of the United States. He needs to put his big boy...
And this is where Piers Morgan is absolutely right. In not just saying, you know, Trump is our president and we need to defend him, blah, blah, blah. He's not making an authoritarian position here. He's just saying, like, if you want to criticize him, you have to be accurate to have any kind of efficacy. You're not going to see any kind of change in the Rust Belt or anywhere in this country that you need to win if you are getting on television and fucking lying. Just incessantly fucking lying, which is all you see now. All you see is CNN and all these different outlets just endlessly lying about Donald Trump, making every fucking issue out to be as if it is like a life and death issue, when it's just a tweet. It has nothing to do with anything that he's doing, but that you have people just losing their minds over it. And now you have Piers Morgan literally just saying, if you continue to be hysterical and you continue to make shit up, you are going to have the opposite effect. And he's right. He's correct in saying that. If you want to criticize Trump, you have to be accurate. You have to say, listen, about this specific thing that he did, not said, this is the issue with it. This is why I disagree or why it was dumb on his part to do. It's easy to do that. You can be accurate in criticizing Trump. But the problem is, and you will see, Piers Morgan continue to say this, none of these people want to actually engage with this argument of Donald Trump as president. They don't actually want to engage. They just want to make easy, frivolous fucking arguments. Easy arguments that are lazy and have no substance to them. They have no efficacy to what they're actually regarding. And I swear to God, this is what is going to get Donald Trump another fucking 4 years in office, is this kind of bullshit.
President of the United States. He needs to put his big boy pants on. Then don't be president of the United States. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get criticized.
That is a good point.
Let me just show you, first of all, let me just show you something he said this week. Show the tape where I was a good student. I think it starts with his reacting to the Muslim man. To your point about whether he is mentally ill or not.
I understand things. I comprehend very well, okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody.
Okay, not only is that mentally ill, but it reminded me of this movie.
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like, dude, I'm smart and I want respect.
Exactly.
I don't agree with that comparison. And I've used that clip before. I've used that clip of Fredo from The Godfather before in my own videos. That is not an accurate depiction of Donald Trump. Okay? If he does have a meltdown like that, then maybe it would be, you know, accurate of comparing him to Fredo. But the issue with Fredo is that he's a fuck-up and an idiot. And Donald Trump is president. Okay? Remember, you're the defenders of Hillary Clinton, who fucked up twice, who has lost a presidential campaign twice, who continues to be a fucking loser. And you are trying to make Donald Trump out to be Fredo. You can make fun of him and compare him to someone that is utterly egotistic and petty. And there are characters out there that you could probably compare him to. Biff, I think, is pretty accurate. Because Biff, despite being a terrible character, in terms of not... I actually like Biff a lot as a character, but as a person, Biff is a terrible person. But he is minimally intelligent and competent. Because Biff, despite all the different universes that he's been in, has always been entrepreneurial. He's always gone into his own business for himself, and he's always been somewhat successful in being a businessman. So, despite all of his issues of being a bad person, Biff is at least competent to a certain degree. And so is Donald Trump. Donald Trump, despite all his glaring issues, is minimally competent and competent enough to beat Hillary Clinton and to thwart the Democratic Party utterly. If you were to compare a character, I would say Biff is a better character to compare him to, because he's an asshole. And, you know, he's just a bad person. But at the very least, Biff is competent, and so is Donald Trump. You can't call him a loser. He's the fucking president. He's not a loser. He might be petty and full of himself, but that doesn't make a loser. okay? You can be full of yourself and still be fucking competent, and he is.
Other presidents have lost in court before. Here's how a former president who was so much more mature than the president we have now, who we so wish we had back, handled it when he lost in court.
First of all, it's the Supreme Court decision. We'll abide by the court's decision. That doesn't mean I have to agree with it.
There are redeeming things about George W. Bush. I happen to believe that he is, to a certain degree, charismatic and affable and likable in a certain regard. It was a lot easier to see him as affable and likable after he was out of fucking office, because he was a terrible president. But outside of the fact that he is affable and he's, you know, goofy and easy to like in a certain way, because he's not full of himself, at least from what I saw of him. He was kind of an idiot, and likable for that reason. Just an affable idiot. The guy's also responsible for Afghanistan and Iraq and our disastrous fucking Middle Eastern policy. Obviously, he didn't set it, but he enacted that policy to a degree that was so terrible that we are still dealing with the consequences of it. I know that there's a lot of Republicans still to this day that want to defend the fucking guy and defend his disastrous foreign policy. But Barack Obama continued it, and Hillary Clinton would have tripled down on it, quadrupled down on it. She is a fucking disaster. She is worse than George W. Bush, because at least with Bush, he may have learned a thing or two. With Clinton, she didn't learn a fucking thing. She expanded, as Secretary of State, she expanded our Middle Eastern wars. She is a terrible candidate for president. She is a terrible person in relation to our mistakes in the Middle East. And so let's see if we address that at all. Being that we're comparing, you know, Donald Trump to George W. Bush. Let's see if we talk about the downsides of George W. Bush.
See, I thought you thought I was going to go for Obama. And then I went.
I thought you were going to do Nixon.
That's right. Okay. Right. But isn't that something we're at a place where we're missing George Bush?
Yeah.
We're George Bush. I mean,
Barbara.
It bothers me that you're trying to make the case that this is somehow normal. This is not normal. Yeah. We're not wrong to be saying that are trying to cling to some sort of normalization.
No, but okay, but let me throw you back at George Bush then, because people say Trump's a monster, right? He's the new Hitler and so on. George W. Bush was the one that took this country and my country into an illegal, unethical, immoral war in Iraq, which killed 1 million people and thousands of troops. Let me finish my point. And killed 1 million people and thousands of troops, right? That is a monstrous act. It was taken as revenge against a country that had nothing to do with 9/11. That is the act.
Trump's been there 3 weeks.
Right.
Give him time.
So my point is,
you're talking about making
you don't
him
see where this is going when somebody says, I'm the smartest person ever in the history of the world.
You have to say,
foresee.
My point is you have to save the outrage for genuinely outrageous things. Otherwise, we'll get fed up with the outrage.
But we're comparing him to Hitler. But I'm sick of talking about Trump. Everywhere you go, that's all people talk about.
So this is me just chiming in yet again to say that Hillary Clinton was constantly, incessantly antagonizing Russia, and it was to the point where the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, president in quotations, said that he was extremely worried and concerned about what was going on, and that we were in the build-up of war. We were taking steps to war. We were putting troops on the border near Russia in order to act on our threats. And Hillary Clinton was the one cheerleading 100% of it. She was the one calling for war with Russia. She was the one doing everything in her power to demonize the nation and to set the stage for war with Russia. Okay? So you can't come out here and say, oh man, he's a fucking warmonger. Trump's a warmonger. Oh, for who? For what nation? Name the nation that we're going to go to war with. Because with Hillary Clinton, I can name the nation. But with Trump, I don't know. Mexico? Is that the country we're going to go to war with? Doesn't sound like it. Doesn't seem like it. They've talked multiple times. It hasn't always been productive. But it doesn't seem to me that we're going to go to war with Mexico, which is one of the only nations that I can imagine. Because we're not going to go to war with China. Because I'm sure I would have heard it. Being that they report on fucking everything he says, I would have heard it if he said something about China that was crazy. But all of a sudden, I don't hear that anymore. I don't hear anything about it. So spare me. Spare me your bullshit about who would have brought us into war. Clinton would have brought us into war. She said it and did it unabashedly, that we would have gone to war with Russia.
comparing him to Hitler. But I'm sick of talking about Trump. Everywhere you go, that's all people talk about. But I'm sure that the gypsies and the homosexuals are tired of talking about Hitler too. And you notice I didn't mention the Jews because he didn't either when he talked about the Holocaust.
You know, it's tempting to say he puts out so much crazy shit every week, we're just going to throw up our hands and ignore it. No, I'm not there yet. Put up the list. We made a list of the crazy and the lies. This is just from 1 week. Here's the crazy list. Okay, crazy. Number 1, so-called judge. He called a judge a so-called judge. Keep going. Let's hear the list. If something happens, blame him. Blame the court. That's insane. See you in court, he said to them.
This was a political fucking thing, and this judge is a fucking political actor. Because I don't know the exact details of the decision, but I don't hear anyone talking about the exact details of the decision. I just hear people talking about this as a political issue, and I can tell you that as it relates to the constitutionality of whether we have to take refugees, no, we don't. We're not under any fucking obligation to take these people. Zero. There's no law compelling us to take them. And so we shouldn't. I don't understand why people are so lost into this, where they think that it is absolutely within our legal, ethical, moral responsibility to take in these people, when we have zero responsibility for them. Nothing whatsoever. We have no moral obligation. We have no ethical obligation. There is no legal obligation compelling us to take them. Nothing. We do not have to take these people. We are voluntarily taking them. And I support Trump trying to block them because we all know where they're going. They're not going to be in Hollywood. They're not going to be in Beverly Hills. They're not going to be in the rich parts of this nation. They're not going to be put there where they should be put. So Bill Maher, if you want them so badly in fucking Hollywood, put them up in your own fucking house. Or shut up. Because I'm going to be the one footing the bill for them to come over here and attack us. Look at France. Look at Germany. Look at Sweden. Look at all the fucking nations throughout Europe that are swamped in fucking terrorism and crime. What is so wrong with just saying, no, we're going to use the executive power that we have to block these people because it was a campaign promise. Something that Trump said he was going to do because other presidents have done it and it was temporary. It wasn't as though that he stood up on high and dictates himself who gets to come into this nation. It was a temporary stay on who was allowed to come in. From where? Something that numerous presidents have done. I don't understand why I have to even fucking debate this, but it's because we're at this point in time where people are so fucking frothing at the mouth about everything that they are just not willing to engage in the reality of what has actually been happening and what has occurred and why we're doing certain things. This is not Trump acting on his own bigotry. This is something because of what has happened in Europe. This has already been tested. We've seen the result. And I don't want it in my community.
You think our country is so innocent. That's what he said to Bill O'Reilly.
What's crazy about that?
Well, when I said it, they fucking threw me off ABC.
No, but seriously, what is crazy? What is crazy about that?
Okay, you're right.
Do you think America's innocent? Seriously? After what I just said about the Iraq War? Do you think that's innocent?
No, but I just think that
America has done bad things. Sorry, everybody.
No.
But how come...
So is my country.
This is one of the most infuriating moments of the whole fucking show. You said this. You said this yourself, that this nation has done terrible things and that the only path forward is to recognize that and to never do it again. To recognize what we've done in the past as a mistake, when it has been a mistake, when it has not led to anything good for anyone. And yet here you are, defending the indefensible, defending the CIA. You're defending the least liberal people, the least leftist people in the fucking nation. You're here defending them because it is politically expedient for you. It is disgusting. You... fucking Bill Maher are a fucking disgrace. You are disgusting. You have no scruples. You have no ethics. You are a piece of fucking garbage. You should be completely disowned by anyone that's on the left because you are a fucking hack. You defend the indefensible. You contradict yourself on what made you famous in the first place. What cemented you on the left, you're betraying it every fucking day that you're out there. And thank God that Piers Morgan was here to throw it right back in your face. Thank God that he was actually on here to show you for the fucking gross hypocrite that you are. Bill Maher, you are a fucking piece of shit.
But how come?
So is my country.
Putin is a brutal dictator.
He just said America's not innocent.
There's no comparison.
Yes, but it was in response to a question when Bill O'Reilly said Putin's a killer, and he said, "Yeah, a lot of people are killers. You think we're so innocent?"
I don't think America is innocent. Britain's not innocent.
Right. This is something Noam Chomsky says. Yeah. It just shows that the.
Remember when you were actually decrying the Iraq War and you made a career on bashing George W. Bush. Remember who you're defending, Hillary Clinton, the warmonger of warmongers. Remember that you are defending the CIA and their torture regime. By proxy, you're defending the torture regime. You're defending Abu Ghraib. You're defending fucking Gitmo. You're defending all the evil shit we did that the CIA has done. You're defending them. Remember which side you claim to fucking be on. Oh, man. This is getting me so fucking wound up. It's like, even with Noam Chomsky, yes, he's right in a certain regard when it comes to our foreign policy and the United States as the hegemon of the world, and he recognizes that, but the issue is what his solutions are, and his utopian, deluded vision, and his inability to actually talk about the communists, to talk about the Soviet Union. He can't do that. He can't factor certain things in to his worldview, which is what makes him a fucking ineffective ideologue. But the problem is that by saying what you're saying, you're basically saying that you're opposed to Noam Chomsky, not because of his utopian beliefs, but because he's actually criticizing the fucking U.S. government. That you're on the side of the CIA and the military-industrial complex. You're on their side. They need defending, Bill Maher. Holy fucking shit. I really think the people listening to this are not going to understand what sacrilege this is for Bill Maher, when this is his career. This is him torching his entire career. This is him taking his career and drowning it in the fucking river, in a fucking sack. Because he doesn't care anymore. He doesn't care at all about what he's supposed to believe and what he said in the past. He's just acting on pure political expedience. What is good for him right now? This is insane.
Yeah.
It just shows that the Republican...
Is that good or bad? Sorry.
Well, it just shows the Republican Party has no principles. No principles. It's just about who wins.
Right.
Well,
it's amazing.
As opposed to the Democrats.
What?
As opposed to the Democrats, who are currently behaving in exactly the histrionic way that they warned us Trump and his supporters would behave when they lost.
This goes back
exactly the same way.
This goes back to what Bill was saying. This is not business as usual. We have someone who is disrespecting the people of this country.
He's been called mentally insane and an idiot tonight.
But it means it's time to riot.
But it's not.
Really.
It's not time to riot.
Yeah,
it's time to calm down.
We do need a resistance.
It's time to take a chill pill and calm down.
It's not.
It is.
You know what? You're so British. But you're confusing.
That's not an insult.
You and the Trump voters are confusing usual with normal. Yes, it's good to upset business as usual, but it's not normal when the CIA says we can't tell the president's secrets because we don't know if he will share them with Russia. That is time to panic. Are you crazy? And also, let me connect how the lies. You know, you say that this is what the Republicans want to do. They just want to put that in a box, the crazy, the lies.
I'm not a Republican.
Well, you sure sound like
I don't sound like one. I'm not a Republican. I wouldn't have voted for him. I'm not a Republican. I watch your show every week. I agree with almost everything you ever say. Right? That's not my point. My point is the hysteria is not going to get the Democrats back into power. It's going to have the opposite effect. It will empower Trump.
It's
not
working.
working.
Yes,
not hysteria, but certainly the demonstrations and all that. You know,
marching every time he tweets is not the way to be.
You can't just allow this to continue on and not criticize it and not say anything about it. The Democratic Party has to clean up its act. And it can win fairly. It can. It absolutely has the ability to win fairly. But you can't have people demonizing the opposite side, using half-truths and bullshit, and also covering for their own crap that they're doing. You can't do that. And you can't cheat people like Bernie Sanders out of the process, which is what occurred. They cheated him out of the nomination. You can't just allow that to go by and not address it, which none of these fucking assholes that are running for the DNC chair, None of them have addressed it other than, I think, one guy who's not going to win. And so this is just a farce. You know, you're not willing to clean up your act. You're not willing to just adjust and admit that you lost. And so you're doing everything in your power to equivocate and to just slide on by and not actually address the hard truths of what's occurred in this election. The fact that the Democrats got blown the fuck out. Purge these fuckers from the party and win back the white working class. We already have blacks. We already have Latinos. We already have all these different minorities that are fucking 10% of the population, or they're trans people and they're 1% or less than 1% of the population. We have the fucking fractional fringes of the nation tied up. We got them. But we have to win back white people. And by having panelists saying, fuck you if you're a white male, well, guess what? We're not going to win anymore. We're not going to win fucking anything. Because that's the majority of the fucking country you're speaking to. And the fact that you continue to wail on about fucking white women problems and the concerns of white women when Trump won white women. You know, I'm the sane one here. I'm the one with the facts and the figures. I'm the one that can look at the election and objectively say what occurred and why, and not to the degree of someone that would be a scientist or a professor that could analyze it in that way, but someone that just from, sitting in their armchair in their own house can look at something and say, the numbers here aren't adding up and your behavior is contributing to the issue. The issue simply isn't that the Republican Party has turned around and become this phenomenally popular party. That's not true. It's because of the Democratic Party. It's because they've become untenable as a party, and they have to adjust. That's on them. It's not up to me. I can't do anything. The Democratic Party has to adjust. And, whatever. Until then, you can get on here and be fucking histrionic and be ridiculous, and we're just going to continue losing. The left is going to just continue to lose.
Yes,
well,
it
not
is.
hysteria, but certainly the demonstrations and all that.
Marching every time he tweets is not the way to be.
College students
it has
stop
worked
studying,
because
get back out on the streets.
We won the court order last night. It is working. It is working.
Right.
If it wasn't for what Democrats were doing this week, we would have never heard of Betsy DeVos.
We never finished the list of lies. Let's do our list of lies.
And what's amazing about this is that, this is just another example of what you say about Trump is more true about Hillary, because instead of having Betty DeVos, who's, in my opinion, is a corporatist and an idiot, you would have someone that would be very articulate, very smooth, would be like a Muslim woman or something, who is a corporatist. And they would hold the same position between Betty DeVos and this person that Hillary Clinton would have appointed, probably from Goldman Sachs, or, by their request. It would have been someone that was very slick, that would purport to believe in public education and support it, but in private and in action would work to privatize all of public education. Because we know that of the two choices, Hillary Clinton was the greater corporatist. She was in favor of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. She opposes unions. She does nothing for them outside of filleting their fucking, higher-up leadership. She does nothing else for unions other than that. She is the worst of the two when it comes to being a corporatist. And so you have Betty DeVos, who is a fucking moron, who likely agrees with Hillary Clinton on a number of things when it comes to private education and public education. And, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You would have just had some fucking Goldman Sachs appointee. It would have been whoever they nominated, whoever they wanted. It would have just been a more articulate corporatist. So who cares? This is a non-point.
Let's do our list of lies. He said this week the murder rate is highest it's been. It's actually the lowest it's been.
Yeah.
Okay, then he said the media doesn't report terrorism. Then he said any negative polls are fake news. This is in 1 week. Then he said the cabinet, longest cabinet delay in history, factually just wrong. He's that thing I just told Al Franken about busing illegal people. These are all just out-and-out lies. And here's the thing. You could say, oh, they're just crazy lies. Does it matter? Here's the connection. Jeff Sessions, our new attorney general, said about crime, I wish the rise that we're seeing in crime was some sort of aberration or blip, which it exactly is. Show the chart. There's a chart that we see of crime. Okay. But Jeff Sessions says, no.
So this is a half-truth, because as far as I know, the murder rate and the violent crime in the United States has gone up in recent years. Now, we're nowhere near where we were in the 90s, but it has gone up. And you'll see them get into a huge fucking debate about this. And I'll show the fucking chart, and it actually shows that fucking Bill Maher is talking out of his ass. Obviously Donald Trump is wrong. But, it's like he's right in that violent crime has gone up. He's wrong in the date in which it's been an issue. Okay, it's been recent years. I think like 2010 onwards, it's become an issue and has gotten worse and it has spiked. There has been a spike in violent crime. I know for a fact that I'll find the article in Buffalo. They're having a serious issue with fucking murders this year. And we're just in February, and they're already having an issue with murders. In Rochester, they're out of fucking control. So even in my immediate area, there is a rise in violent crime. It's just not anecdote. It's based on the numbers. There is an issue in the United States right now, in recent years, with crime rising. That doesn't mean that we don't go back to the stupid policies that we had in the past that don't work. But you have to acknowledge reality. So while you can say that Donald Trump is wrong in the dates for sure, 45 years is ridiculous. He's completely wrong there. But in the last 5 or so years, he's right. And so the answer to this would be, Mr. President, you're wrong. It's actually in the last 5 years. And see his reaction. If he doubles down or triples down on the lie, then he's an idiot. But if he says, oh, sorry, then he's in the right. And you don't want him to be in the right. You want him to be in the wrong on everything. And the thing is, you can't just admit that there's problems with the Obama administration. You can't just admit that one of their failures was the issues of violent crime, that it's risen. You know, he just took office. Donald Trump just took office, and it's been rising for years. So you have to acknowledge that. And they don't want to, because it's not in their own self-interest.
But Jeff Sessions says, no, my best judgment is this is a dangerous permanent trend. Wait a second. Then you have Sean Spicer saying the Yemen raid, which was a giant, dismal failure. We didn't get the guy we were going after, who's now gloating and talking about the fool in the White House. We killed children and women. They knew we were coming. It was not a success. But he's saying, because Trump says it's a success, we all have
Why have you left out the fact that they killed 12 al-Qaeda operatives? Is that not significant?
They killed 12 al-Qaeda operatives?
They did?
Yeah.
Why have you left that out?
Probably because they were 8 years old.
No, because it sounds better to say they just... Well, they weren't, though. They weren't, though. But that's not true. And my point about the crime figures is... What is true is that the crime figures in 2015 rose by the highest spike since 71. The figures for 2016 are likely for serious murder and gun-related crime, also likely to rise by a similar amount. I think everyone should be worried about the massive spike in crime.
I think there isn't a massive spike in crime. No, you are crazy. Because we just saw the chart. Look at the chart. Look the chart up.
Do you think
the chart up? Look.
2015.
Look where it was. Look where it is. Look at the little...
2015.
Yes.
It might be exaggerated, but is he wrong? Is he telling a lie? Is it not the fact that on your own fucking chart, you see this uptick? You see an uptick in fucking violent crime, okay? Look at the fucking chart that you're presenting. It has an uptick.
2015.
Look where it was. Look where it is. Look at the little...
2015 was the highest spike in crime, serious crime in this country since 1971. Look at the chart.
I live in Baltimore, where the gun rate...
Look where it was. Look where it is.
Look at the last 2 years, Bill.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Can I just put in one thing that basically... I live in Baltimore. The gun violence is terrible. One is too much. Every family that had their kid killed, they don't care if it went up or down.
All right,
so here's the thing they should do. Can I give one advice to the guy? The new Attorney General? Hire more gay cops. Lavender blue can make black lives even better.
Bill, here's what the... What the White House and the Attorney General is trying to do, they're trying to stoke fears into the American public.
Sorry, the fear is real.
That is what they're trying to do.
The fear is real.
What he wants to do is he wants to make sure that they put policies forth that's going to hurt the black community and the Latino community. That is what's happening. That is exactly what's happening.
I would love to continue this discussion, but I have to move on to Valentine's Day. You know, so you have a rant about guns, which went crazy viral. That people, especially the liberal folks, love. And I know you have this feeling that anyone who has a gun just loves their gun. But you know there are people in America who have a gun who don't love their gun.
Well, I assume they like their gun. They wouldn't have it if they... I don't have a gun.
I don't like my antibiotics, but I you know, in case I need them, I would.
But you love the result.
Yeah, exactly. But that's different. You love the result.
Well, the thing is, if I had a gun, I'd probably kill myself, so I wouldn't love the result. That's why I feel like these people...
depressed?
No, at times, sure.
Because most gun deaths are suicides.
Of course they are, yeah. Whether it be yourself or you get a cop to shoot you or what have you. I'm a...
Yeah.
No, that's what...
People do
like
that.
police suicides, of course. That's how I'm going down.
It's very easy to do it in America.
Yeah.
Little blackface.
No, I look... What I think about guns
is...
A
joke in support of what you actually believe.
What I think about guns is very simple, right? So, in Australia...
Find me a greater example of Bill Maher and his entire audience just going off the cliff altogether. Because they don't laugh at any of his jokes anymore. Like, his jokes are still politically incorrect. But no one laughs at them because they are, in fact, all illiberal, not liberal, illiberal, fucking politically correct dickheads. This is your world, Bill Maher. You chose this. You chose to do this. So this is the audience you get, bro.
What I think about guns is very simple, right? So in Australia, there hasn't been any mass shootings since the Port Arthur attack, and that's when we banned guns, so that makes sense that it hasn't happened since then. Maybe it could be a coincidence.
But America can't do that.
You had the same amount of police shootings and fatalities in the first month of January than Australia's had in the last 25 years.
Oh, yeah, we're the gun country.
Yeah, and so people can say Black Lives Matter and all this type of stuff, but it really comes down to it is racism in some parts, but it also has to do that everybody has a gun. But so they always think that someone's going to be shooting you. If you think someone's going to shoot you, you're going to shoot them.
It's also a little racist to say that everyone who has a gun loves a gun, because there are people who live in poorer neighborhoods than you do who really need a gun.
Well,
when you live in a shitty neighborhood where the cops don't show up...
Ta-da! Welcome to my world, assholes! Welcome to the world and the jobs where you need to have a gun because there are fucking criminals. I got a case coming up where they took this chick that was working it off of it because it was dangerous. So who they stick onto it? Me. They stuck me onto it. Where it deals with someone who is a legit criminal, who is dangerous, who threatened the previous investigator. And I get that fucking case, because it needs to get done. The client needs to get their end, so it goes to me. And you better fucking believe I'm going to be carrying when I have that case. I'm not going out there with nothing but my fucking dick in my hand when I'm actually investigating a legit criminal who's threatened investigators in the past. So guns have a practical use. And it isn't because I love my gun. I'm very critical, still to this day, of, the fact that we have an issue in this country with illegal guns and people having, just easy access to firearms when they really shouldn't. And we should be taking steps to reform that system. But restricting magazine capacity or banning certain kinds of firearms or certain brands or whatever is not having any kind of effect. That's not doing anything. That's not taking criminals off the streets. It's not having any effect on reducing violent crime. It isn't solving any issue. Okay, you still have major homicides in Buffalo rising. You have Rochester out of control with crime. Okay, we have restrictive gun laws here in New York. Why isn't it having any effect? They have it in Illinois too. Why isn't it having any effect? This is not an effective notion. That doesn't mean that I'm an NRA member and I don't like the NRA. I don't like the gun manufacturers. I don't like big corporations. I don't like people that are right-wing paramilitary types, and I've investigated a few of those. I'm not in favor of people that are ridiculous fucking gun enthusiasts. However, we need to recognize reality for what it is and understand that guns have a practical purpose, even with private citizens. Okay, so long as I have a dangerous fucking job and I need a gun, because the guy I'm investigating, who's a criminal, likely has a gun, whether it's legal or otherwise. So long as that's the case, you have to admit to that. I don't give a fuck what happens in Australia. If they want to be illiberal there, that's up to them. But so long as there's fucking violent crime in this country, and you don't have cops on the beat, instead it's fucking me. Okay, I'm not going out there with just my dick in my hand.
Could we get the apology right now?
Yeah.
Why?
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 As if, are you serious?
I'm serious, yeah.
Like Hillary Clinton would have a cabinet with Betsy DeVos and fucking Rick Perry?
She wouldn't have a
Go
Muslim
on.
ban.
They wouldn't have a Muslim ban. They wouldn't be feuding with everybody in the world. They wouldn't be. They wouldn't be doing this shit with Russia. Are you crazy?
Calm down, Bill. There is no Muslim ban. If there was,
fuck off.
Sorry, why don't we...
Fuck off.
Okay.
There's a fucking Muslim ban.
Okay.
He said there was a Muslim
This
ban.
is the point.
There's a Muslim
This is a
ban.
talk about the hysteria. I'm talking about 85%.
There's a fucking Muslim ban. Fucking Barack Obama did it. Fucking George W. Bush did it. But all of a sudden Donald Trump does it, and it's a fucking Muslim ban.
About the hysteria. I'm talking about 85% of the world's Muslims are allowed into the country.
This is what you do, Pierce. You say, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that, he's not going to do all these things. Give him a fucking chance, mate.
And
you know what I mean?
Why not?
Hitler didn't kill the Jews on the first day. He worked up to it.
Mate.
All right.
See,
I have to stop you.
That is the exact ridiculous, hysterical, over-the-top nonsense.
If people got hysterical in Germany right away, then it wouldn't have...
He's not the new Hitler.
You just like that you won The Apprentice and you have a famous friend, mate. That's all you fucking like.
Can I say one thing?
I know that's all you like. That's all you like.
You're losing your audience.
I'm not losing my
because
audience.
You're sounding unpleasant.
Am I
and you're
losing it?
also not basing...
I don't really have much else to say here. Neither does Bill, other than a long monologue lecturing the United States on truth and how we don't respect the news media anymore, and that's wrong. He starts out by saying that we should support higher education, and then very quickly delves into saying, well, we don't trust the press anymore. And that's true. Most Americans don't trust the press, and that's their fault. That's not the fault of Americans. When the press lie, and they do, CNN is out of fucking control at this point, but they're hardly the only people lying. When everyone's lying, you know, what are Americans supposed to do? What are we supposed to do, Bill? We're not going to just accept lies at face value. So what do you want us to do? And I'm not even going to fucking play his monologue. You want to go listen to it, you go fucking listen to it. I'm not even going to fucking play it. It's an issue of who's telling the truth and where you can actually find it. If we want to hear any truth about the issue of the migrant crisis or refugees in Europe and what's going on there, you have to find it on Facebook. You have to find it on Twitter. You have to find it on social media, because none of the outlets are reporting it. None of the outlets are talking about the crisis that's going on in Europe. No one's talking about all the issues in Europe and how we're just waiting to import all their problems. No one's talking about the fact that the EU is failing and why you see the rise of all these right-wing politicians throughout the world. This is not the fault of Americans. This is not the fault of the working class. This is not the fault of the people that you sit there and fucking lecture from your comfortable fucking seat in your air-conditioned studio in fucking Los Angeles. You have learned nothing, Bill Maher. You have learned nothing. Neither has the Democratic Party. Neither have multiple of your panelists there. They haven't learned shit either. You haven't learned about why Trump won, why Hillary Clinton lost, why he's likely to win his re-election, why you're likely to not see any gains whatsoever during the midterms for Democrats, why you're going to continue to see Democrats lose, why you're going to see otherwise terrible Republicans win, why the entire world is now careening away from you. You can't understand it, you are not willing to understand it, and you're willing to lie and destroy your own fucking career and reputation just to avoid the hard truth of the fact that the left, we are in a position of crisis. We are devolving and completely falling out of any fucking power when it comes to actual political power. We are being routed, and we are doing nothing to prevent it. We are adding to our own losses by doing what you're doing here. By you lecturing, you preachy fucking moralizing cocksucker. By you preaching to the United States about how we're all stupid. We're all redneck assholes. We're all degenerates. We're all fucking morons to you. You're going to lose. And I have to say that at this point, and I've said it in the past, I am just looking for some kind of alternative. Some kind of liberal alternative. Not in the way that you use it, Bill Maher. In this general sense of deranged, leftist, illiberal fucking dickhead. I mean actual, principled liberals. Once there's an alternative presented, if there's ever any, I'm gone, baby. I'm gone. You've disappeared up your own ass, and I'm just going to go into a different party. I just need that option. I just need that opportunity. Because you aren't presenting it to me. You're not presenting anything other than you being up your own ass about your own fucking ego. You know, you sit there and you lecture us about how Donald Trump is an egomaniac, when you yourself are a disingenuous, lying egomaniac. Fuck you. You've destroyed your own reputation. And I hope your fucking show fails. I hope you go off the fucking air. Because you serve no purpose anymore. You're just out there obfuscating, bloviating, and trying everything that you can to just equivocate around the fact that you backed a loser, a fucking corporatist dog, a piece of shit candidate, and she lost. She got blown the fuck out despite having all the money in the world. You backed the losing side, and you lost all your credibility in the fucking process. You're a fucking hack, just like all the rest. And no, we don't believe the media. We don't believe them. We're not going to start believing them until they stop fucking lying. So good luck to Bill. Good luck to Bill in his shit show with his terrible audience, with his ridiculous hack panelists. And let's see what happens. Let's see how long you last, Bill. Because if you can turn away people like me that once supported you wholeheartedly, if you can turn me away, you're going to turn away everyone other than the fucking fringes. The total retards. That's all you're going to have left. And they're a small group. You and many fucking Hillary Clinton supporters say that, you know, oh, because she won the popular vote, that means that the majority of people are on your side. You don't get it. You don't understand why people voted for Trump and why people voted for Clinton. You don't get it. You don't understand. You don't understand why the majority of people in this country are not on your side. But whatever. You're free to do whatever the fuck you want on your stupid show. And I will continue to not watch you. This is just a freak occurrence that I actually watched your shit. And you haven't changed at all. You know, you're on the same level of the Young Turks. You're terrible. You're unwatchable. You're insufferable. Thanks for listening.